Elizabeth has been dealing with bloating for the last 5 years that she just cannot get to go away. She has gone completely gluten free and dairy free. She limits processed foods. She eats almost completely organic and makes almost all her food from scratch. And she still gets people asking her if she's pregnant when she's not. What else can she do? And why has her healthy eating not helped her? Listen into this episode where I break down what is likely causing her bloating and what she can do to find bloat relief. And for those of you who notice that this episode is airing on a Tuesday, I'm happily announcing that I'm airing an extra episode each week for a summer of double dipping. During this summer, I'm going to be having 2 episodes per week to give you double the fun and double the healing this summer. Now, let's dive in. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly podcast. If you're currently trying endless supplements, doctor visits, and diet changes to heal your mystery symptoms, you are in the right place. We're here to solve the real root causes behind your gut, hormones, skin, sleep, and brain concerns, literally anything and everything in your body. My name is Allison Jordan. I'm a functional medicine practitioner that has supported over 150 clients just like you to heal problems that no one has been able to fix. You don't need a perfect diet or a random supplement you found on Instagram to heal. You need a proven system that heals your whole body from the inside out. That's what I'm here to share with you, episode by episode. It's time to make health easy again. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and I have a question about bloating. So, I've had bloating for the last few years, and it has gotten a lot worse in the last couple years. I did get a copper IUD a couple years ago, but I had bloating even before that. I think the last 5 years, I would say, is after I turned 30. I have not been eating gluten and dairy for a while, and it doesn't seem to help. I do eat a really clean diet for the most part, and very limit any processed foods. I buy a lot of organic foods and just make just about everything from at home from scratch. And so I feel really confused and frustrated. Makes me feel so self-conscious and embarrassed. I constantly get comments if I'm pregnant, and I do look pregnant even though I'm not. And I understand why people ask that, because I am short, I am petite, I am small, 115 pounds, and so it's very noticeable when my stomach bulges forward. I even have to be so aware of what I wear. And I know it's a bloating issue because when I don't eat food and in the morning when I wake up, my stomach's pretty flat. And it's in the evenings, I literally look like I'm 4 months pregnant. I'm not even kidding. And it's just makes me feel so uncomfortable. So if you have any suggestions, I would love to hear your feedback.
First off, hello, Elizabeth. It is so nice to meet you, and I'm so glad that you submitted this question. So let's dive in. So what is causing Elizabeth's bloating? So some notes that I have that from what she shared, it's been going on for about 5 years. It was going on before she got a copper IUD, but she does have one now and for a couple years. And she's done some dietary changes, not eating gluten and dairy, clean diet, limiting processed foods, organic foods, all the lovely, nice things you're supposed to do with food to like make you healthy. And when food isn't making you healthy, you end up in Elizabeth's situation. And the great news is that literally by already having tried the diet stuff, which Elizabeth, great job on like making all those changes. When you've already tried that, you have now, that's actually essentially a test. It's like, is it just the food? Do I just need to eat a little cleaner? Some people, that's going to work. If you're listening to this podcast, listening to Elizabeth's episode, or you're asking a question in our Ask Allison forum that we have, then you are going to have a deeper problem that's beyond food. And so we're going to talk about what those 4 other things are today that cause these bloating problems that are unrelated to food. So Before I jump into these four problems, I want you to just imagine your body is like a container. So you're like a box or you're a basket or something, like things go into it, right? So you're a container, and then the food you put into that container it's like a separate entity from you, right? Like it eventually goes into you and it becomes part of you if the digestion process works, etc. But it technically is separate than you. And so the majority of advice out there on gut health focuses on controlling the variable that is outside your body, controlling what you put inside of this container, inside of your body. But if no matter what you put into your body, you don't feel good when you eat, then the problem is no longer the food going into the body, it's the container itself. So these four problems I'm about to talk about are all things that are happening inside of that container. It's like a total paradigm shift, and it's really the key to unlocking getting better. So, the five sources of problems when it comes to bloating, you're going to be looking at number one, poor digestion. Number two, poor detox. I'll get into what that means. Number three, hidden pathogens. And number four, heavy metals and mineral imbalances, which really come together. They don't always come together, but if you have a heavy metal problem, you're going to have mineral imbalance. And if you have a mineral imbalance, you're more susceptible to heavy metal problems. And even if you don't have a heavy metal, mineral imbalances will create almost as many symptoms as heavy metals will because you are deficient. So when I hear your story, Elizabeth, this is what I'm hearing. And this is also what I see going on in Candida for all of my Candida clients. And I do have a podcast episode. I don't want to super distract you. I am going to put a link in these show notes for you to go and have another resource to go and listen to episode 149, which is my Candida episode, 4 steps to get rid of Candida for good. It's honestly going to say a lot of similar stuff to this episode, but if you just are like, I just want to hear it in another way, go and check that out because that is another resource that I have. So when I hear your story, and anytime there is Candida going on, which I'm suspicious that you have it, there's four things I want to think about. Digestion. Common problems with Candida is low stomach acid, number one, low bile, number two, and low pancreatic enzymes. Now, you might not have all three of those off, but the first one that is typically going to create a problem and set you up for Candida is low stomach acid. So that's the most likely problem that you have going on. And then the second most likely problem is low bile from your liver. Now, you might have both of these problems going on. You might even have pancreatic enzymes, but you could just have one of them going on. Now, low stomach acid is not just, do not go and just supplement with betaine HCl, which is hydrochloric acid. You could make yourself way worse. And why is that? You want to know what's causing your low stomach acid. One of the potential causes of low stomach acid is H. pylori. And if you have H. pylori, then it's going to eat stomach acid. Literally, as you give it a higher acidity environment, it will get stronger and you could feel a lot worse. So we're now looking at potentially low stomach acid. I don't know, mainly because I haven't tested. I don't know. But I would say hands down, you want to get testing for H. pylori. When you get testing, though, I do recommend you do not go through a conventional doctor because their stool testing for H. pylori is extremely weak. It is, and it's not just weak, but it also, the margins of what you have, how much you have to have for them to say it's a positive result, meaning you do have it, has to be so high. And I have lots of clients who have lower levels than what the thresholds of that test will show, and they're still getting sick from H. pylori. So I do recommend the GI map, which is the test that we use in the Better Belly Blueprint. And I do recommend making sure you just checking out and see you have H. pylori. Hey friend, do you feel like you're never properly digesting anything no matter how you change your diet? Have you spent thousands of dollars buying supplements, labs, and fancy functional or holistic practitioners to simply have no relief from your symptoms? Or do you just want to poop daily, ditch acid reflux, and balance your hormones without being dependent on medications? If so, I've got great news for you. You can stop the money hemorrhage that's happening around your health and finally get worry-free health through the Gut Healer System. The Gut Healer System is my 2.0 upgrade to the former Better Belly method that consistently reduces our clients' symptoms by 80% in 3 to 6 months so that your health can finally feel easy. Our clients have gone from being stuck at home with fibromyalgia to watching their grandchildren's soccer games every evening, or they've been able to travel for work and pleasure without wondering the entire trip if they're going to become constipated and ruin their whole time. We've also seen clients get off of 40 plus years of medications that they've been on for acid reflux, constipation, and PMS, and stay off that medication without needing to be on lifelong extreme diet restrictions or supplements. I want you to be able to enjoy the holidays and family meals without fearing how you're going to feel afterwards or feeling guilty for what you do eat. If you are ready for this, head to betterbellytherapies.com/training to watch my free micro training to learn exactly how 600 plus of my clients have healed their gut even when nothing else has worked before. In this training, you're going to learn what your doctors are missing, even if they're functional or holistic, why no amount of food restrictions are going to heal your gut, the 5 toxin trap that is keeping you sick, how to heal your gut in the most affordable way possible, and the 3 steps to actually heal your gut. I can't wait to see you living a worry-free, optimal, healthy life. Head to betterbellytherapies.com/training to get started today. Now, back to the show. Once H. pylori is gone, you need to go through a process to rebuild your body's ability to actually create stomach acid most of the time. But I use a really simple baking soda test in my program to make sure that to just get an idea of, do you have good stomach acid levels once you get rid of H. pylori? Again, most people do need to rebuild it because your ability to make stomach acid is really significantly reduced after having H. pylori. Some other things to consider in terms of low stomach acid, though, is that if you have any history of PPI use, so proton pump inhibitors for reducing stomach acid because you were having acid reflux, that would also set you up for long-term chronic low stomach acid, even if you're off of that medication now. So that's my first thing. You want to fix the digestion component. That I want to say always, I don't know, 95% of the time has been the case of my candida clients. I'm still going to tell you why I think candida is going on. Number 2 is poor detox. This actually gets into the number 1 detox thing that I care about in somebody's body is their liver. That's the first place. Now, liver, it produces bile, which we just talked about, and bile helps you digest. You're also on an IUD, and if you've ever been on, whether it's this IUD or any other types of hormonal birth control or hormonal or non-metal, hormonal or metal birth control, then your liver has been set up to have lots of toxins flowing through it and it will get congested. It won't function as well. So some symptoms of having poor detox in your liver are going to be skin problems like acne, eczema, rashes, difficulty sleeping, particularly waking up between 2 to 4 a.m., like on a semi-regular basis. It could be every night, could be every other night, a couple times a week. But if you're getting that 2 to 4 a.m. wake up, then your liver is having to turn on at night, especially if you wake up sweating. It's a sure sign like your liver is clogged and it's trying to unclog itself. And so you need to support and help your liver detox. So poor detox is a common problem when you have bloating because then you aren't getting good bile production and you're also not getting rid of toxins, and that can end up hanging around in the gut, and you can have a lot of slower lymphatic drainage through the body because of this detox backup. So you do want to work on detoxing, and there's not really a test for that I recommend, but I do recommend that you do it in a really good way. I have a liver protocol that I share in my show notes, which you can go and get, but it's also in the Better Belly Blueprint, and it's one of the first steps. And I do recommend, I don't think just doing this liver detox by hearing your symptoms, Elizabeth, is going to get rid of all of them. So I don't want to set up false expectations, say, just go buy this little liver detox, do the thing, and then you don't feel better. Because I really don't think it would work. Like just from what you shared, the intensity, the duration, how long it's been going on. And part 3, the third thing that I mentioned is another reason why I don't think just a detox is going to help you, or a liver detox specifically. So step 3, the thing that I really think is going on, and I'll break this down, is a hidden pathogen. And hidden, I only mean no doctor has found it. They haven't looked for it. Whether they did the testing for it and they couldn't see it, or they didn't even do testing. I get a mix of both of people coming to my clinic saying, well, my doctor did test for that and I didn't have any. I don't care. The testing is very low quality. And it's possible they also did a stool sample that didn't test for that specific marker. So there's just a variety of things going on. So I really think you have candida as a pathogen. And the main thing that tipped me off is that the pattern that you described of when you wake up in the morning, your stomach is flat, and by the evening, you look 4 months pregnant. This is a very common candida pattern because overnight you're essentially fasting. You're not putting any new food into your body. And then as you go throughout the day and you're eating normal meals, like I'm not saying you're eating sugar or candy or, anything super bad, but as you simply just get small amounts of carbohydrates into your body, and they accumulate with each meal, you're going to get more and more bloated because the candida is eating on anything that has carbs in it. I am not recommending you go on a keto diet. Keto is not a solution to, or a low sugar. That's like some people call it a candida diet. I do not recommend those because that does not solve the problem. Because as soon as you eat sugary foods again, that candida is going to overgrow because candida has root causes to it, which is actually, I'm not going to dig into here, but if you go check out episode 149, my candida episode, it's called the candida episode, and it's linked in the show notes. That will talk to that. In that, I share a lot more about the root causes of candida and why so many people who do candida protocols or candida diets end up getting candida again. It literally drives me insane how bad the advice is out there on candida. And that's why I'm actually really excited that you came and asked this question because I think you're going to bypass a lot of problems if you follow what I recommend. So, candida, one of its root causes is actually something I already mentioned, which is H. pylori, because H. pylori lowers stomach acid. And when stomach acid is low, it's easier for your gut flora to become overgrown with candida. So again, continues to point back to H. pylori. H. pylori and candida are buddies. You could have other things going on inside you. I have somebody with candida and they have H. pylori and they have a parasite, or candida, H. pylori, and they have mold toxicity, candida, H. pylori, and they have C. diff. So you might have other stuff. It could just be those two guys. And so I really would recommend testing, again, the GI map to see H. pylori. GI map's sort of good at seeing candida, but a better test for it is going to be the organic acids test. And I offer that inside of my Better Belly Blueprint, which you get wholesale pricing on all your labs when you join the program, saving you on average $100 per lab. So I would highly recommend coming and joining. I think you're a perfect candidate. And anybody listening to this, if you're like, this is my problem, Elizabeth described things I go through, this is what this program is built for, the Better Belly Blueprint. So, candida, and you just want to look at other pathogens in the body, not just candida, and you want to treat those in the right order, because if you don't, then the candida will come back. All right, so number 4 is going to be heavy metals and mineral imbalance. And the mineral imbalance, heavy metal situation that I'm most suspicious you have going on is copper toxicity. So even though you had bloating before your copper IUD was put inside, the copper IUD can make things worse. And this is where, again, there's layers to healing. You can't just do one of these steps and be like, well, I took some digestive enzymes, my digestion's fixed. Or I do detox smoothies, or I've done a liver detox protocol before, or castor oil packs or whatever. If you don't do all of them and in the most helpful order that I've consistently seen works, then you're still going to have your symptoms. And what'll happen is that if a copper toxicity is another aspect of your healing process, you could do work on the digestion, get rid of the pathogens, get rid of help open up your detox pathways. And if the copper toxicity is there, you will still have bloating there. It might not be as bad, but it's going to be, it'll feel persistent. Like, why is this thing not gone away? And if you want to know some of the science behind why a copper IUD, so copper IUDs will cause elevated levels of unavailable copper in the body, meaning it's not useful. You can't use this copper. Copper is not inherently toxic to humans. We actually use copper. Copper's in supplements, especially like multivitamins. We need some copper. But if you have too much, and especially if it's unavailable, like a copper IUD, then you get elevated tissue copper, and then it depletes you in zinc, B6, magnesium, vitamin C, and phosphorus. This will deplete your gut flora, and then that will enable candida overgrowth. So copper and candida candida come together. It's another potential root cause of a candida overgrowth, though I do think you were having this candida overgrowth before the IUD based off of just having these bloating problems. You might have had H. pylori that led to candida overgrowth with low stomach acid. Then you get the copper IUD and it gets a lot worse, something like that. So I would recommend an HTMA test, which is a hair tissue mineral analysis. I know that can be a little bit of a mouthful the first time you hear it. HTMA, hair tissue mineral analysis, so that you can get a view on your copper levels. Blood work is not good enough. And you could even say it's just not good for testing for toxic copper because it won't show the biounavailable copper in your blood. It will only show what your body is using inside your blood. So copper and zinc, you have to be really out of balance for them to show up on your blood because your body's working really hard to maintain homeostasis and keep normal blood levels. But your hair will show it much more quickly, and that's why I recommend a hair sample. So there's one more thing that I haven't mentioned as like a priority for you because I don't want it to be confusing. However, one of the things that can add to a candida overgrowth is food sensitivities that you are eating. So, but my caveat to this is that I do not recommend that you go and work on food sensitivities, like do more testing or become more restricted until you are also dealing with the 4 things I mentioned above. So don't worry about focusing on food unless you are working on all 4 things above: digestion, detox, your pathogen, and heavy metal, like kind of copper toxicity thing going on. You might have other heavy metals going on too, but I'm at least working with the assumption, and I'd want to test to confirm, is copper toxicity one of the things you're dealing with? Now, so that's like the whole picture. That's the whole plan. If you address those 5 things, candida goes away, it stays away. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to look pregnant in the evening anymore. And I teach you how to do this in my program, the Better Belly Blueprint. I also give you every single tool you will need, whether it's access to ordering labs that come straight to your home. You complete them in your home, you mail them back in with prepaid packaging, or maybe you're looking at what exactly do you need inside of the Candida protocol. It's not a candida diet, y'all. I'm not trying to gatekeep. It's just I'm trying to keep this message short. You can go check out my candida episode. I do talk a little bit more about that, but I give you every single supplement, every single dietary recommendation, the exact dosage you need, how long you need to do it, what order do you do before H. pylori, after H. pylori, what if you have other pathogens, how do those interplay, when do you start working on copper toxicity, because you can't just randomly go out. Your body won't respond optimally, and it might not respond very well at all if you do them out of order. And there, unfortunately, is different biological reasons for it. But the good news is when you have the right order, then your body, it's like literally just going through a zip line. Point A, point B, point C, and you go through it and you're done. Some last things that we didn't talk about, Elizabeth, is do you have any other symptoms? And I know you had a limited amount of time on the voice memo you could send, but I'm guessing that you don't just have bloating, because if you have candida and you have copper toxicity, and again, we don't know if you do, but we're kind of operating off of theory that you do. If you have low stomach acid, if you have poor detox and your liver's congested, that sets you up for other problems like anxiety, irritability, fatigue, difficulty building muscle, quick feelings of fullness, sugar cravings, period problems, which might currently be being masked by the IUD. But I'm just curious, when you're off an IUD, do you have PMS? Do you get light periods, painful periods, irregular periods, heavy periods? Because the liver being congested will set you up for period problems. Do you get skin problems because of low zinc? Which can cause acne, eczema, random rashes. Again, the low zinc comes with the high copper. Do you have difficulty sleeping, waking 2 to 4 a.m.? Do you have constipation? I'm a little surprised if you had it and you didn't mention it, but constipation can come with all these problems. Or do you get UTIs or vaginal yeast infections 1 time per year? 1 time per year or more is way too frequent. But even 1 time per year it's unnecessarily frequent. If as long as you have normal like external hygiene, you want to be thinking about the internal microbiome if you're getting a UTI or vaginal yeast infection 1 time a year or more. So these are all symptoms of candida overgrowth, copper toxicity, and poor digestion, every symptom that I just mentioned. If you have a naturopath or somebody that you want to work with to try and do all those things, you're welcome to do that. I I unfortunately get clients who've already worked with naturopaths and they say, well, we did all these things and all my symptoms came back as soon as I stopped taking the supplements. I'm like, well, that's a sign you didn't really actually address the root cause of the candida or of the bloating. And we need to find what they didn't find or address what they didn't address or do it in the right order. Because a lot of times it'll be like, well, I did that, but I did it first, or I only did it for a month, or whatever it is. There's just all these little nuances to what somebody did that made them not get results. So ultimately, I do recommend my program, the Better Belly Blueprint. You can go to betterbellytherapies.com/training. You get a whole idea of exactly how the blueprint works, why we're actually getting results with our clients when nobody else has gotten them results before, whether it's a traditional doctor or naturopath or a nutritionist, whoever they worked with before. You can go watch the video and then you can join and just go through the program, get the healing you need. No ifs, ands, or buts. No what ifs about like, is this really going to work? And would love to see you in the program. Go to betterbellytherapies.com/training. And you can, from that training page, after you watch the video, if you're ready to join, you'll just scroll down to the bottom of the page and you can join it right there, be in the Better Belly Blueprint today. And I would love to work with you. Whether it's you, Elizabeth, or somebody else listening to this, this is what I've built this for. So if you guys have any questions or you want to do an Ask Allison just like Elizabeth did, you can go to betterbellytherapies.com/ask Allison and submit a little voice memo and we can have a chat and talk through whatever you have going on, whatever questions you have, so that you can get the fastest healing possible. Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? Drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening. You can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of. And you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, it's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.